Okay, Paul, as promised, here we are. Here we go. Thank you for willing to be the guinea pig for the new Vuitton seals. This is a nice watch. This is exactly the kind of watch I love in terms of originality and condition. You know, you've got all this dirt in here and it's never been restored, clearly original. This watch now is generally known or acknowledged to be a Bruce Lee. This apparently is what he had, so people tell me. I haven't confirmed that myself, but that is the word on the street. These really early ones, they have a couple peculiarities. One, of course, is this frosted matte hand surface. Sorry for the noise. And also, the red of the hands, of the chronograph hands, isn't like anything that came later. It's like a semi-metallic red. You can barely, it's got a different kind of shine and shimmer to it. It's like a semi-translucent, almost metallic flake. Very, very specific to these. Interestingly, this is red, like the deeper red, though, of the gold dials, not the blue dials. This is a nice watch. Early, so it should be, what, March 69, maybe? Feb 69? Oh, nope. April 69. That's a nice watch. Nice early piece. I haven't really... Come on, you gonna do anything for me here? Okay, so it's not resetting at all, and it's not running. It's clicking in, but it's not going anywhere. So let's, I guess let's find out the answer to the mystery. Like I said, I love watches in this condition, completely unrestored, completely original. This one's nice. It's so old. The caseback seal is just plastic. Is just shattering. It's not rubber anymore. Always nice to see. Let's see where things are. There's a tip correct for JDM. It's got the red text, both on the balance there. Let's see what we got going on. I want to pull this winding, oscillating, this framework with ball bearing is what they call it. A very laborious name. Hey, that's pretty loose. I wonder why. Let's see now. Oh, right. Gotcha. And note, there are no servicing marks inside the caseback that I can see. So that's, you know, again, it's original, which is nice. No corrosion. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay, I'm wondering if this bridge is loose. Not moving. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe the hands are set in properly. Let me pull that winding, framework with ball bearings. Why don't they just call it the winding bridge? I don't know. Always a mystery. Always a mystery. Yeah, I love watches like this. It's never been touched. I'm the first person, I'd bet I'm the first person in here since it was made in 1969, which is always fun. That's your Paul lever. Does your automatic winding. I want to see what's up here. Well, that's dirty. What am I looking at there? Yeah, early. Let me see if I can get any life into it. Something's up. super gluey. And it also looks like the balance is in the, yeah, your balance jumped the shark here. It's in the wrong place. It's on the other side of the, it's on the other side of the pallet fork. Hey, how'd you get in here, Milo? Okay, well, let me look. So we got a couple things going on. I have ascertained that the hands, the chronograph hands, that's actually their reset position, which is obviously not correct. I'm not quite sure what's up with that. We will find out. I already found one part that's going to need replacement. This thing that I was looking at here, this jewel is shattered. So that jewel right there, I'm going to have to swap out. So rather than try to even fool around with trying to get it running, I'm not going to bother. With the chronograph stopped, I can get, the pallet fork will click back and forth, so the train is doing something. Here's another interesting thing. Okay, there's your stem, right? It's supposed to be stuck in the movement, right? Nope, just comes right out. So, at least it's complete and intact. I have to get the crown seal off of that, which I'll do in a little bit. Let's pull that movement. Okay, there's that. Here are your buttons. Usual thing. Gaskets are utterly flattened and hard as plastic, because that's pretty much what they are now. Same with this one. See, it's just even with the rest of it. Let's pull this out. Whew. That really is pretty. Isn't that pretty? So I don't know why the resets are so incorrect, but you know, we are gonna find out exactly what the heck is going on here. Just a moment. Anyway, so yeah, we go back in here. Oh boy. You know, it's the end of the day. I'm starting this project pretty late because I really wanted to get on it because I'm very curious about what's going on here, but this is... You can see that is in fact that is the reset. So like we can pull this one back to top dead there. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Come on. It's because I don't have the stem in it. Would you stop it? Stop. What? Wait, what? Where's your dial ring? Where's your dial ring? Somebody has been in here, you see? I'm not that cool. Somebody has been in here. No dial ring. Well, I've got them. And I have the early type that this is supposed to have, so... Okay. Your dial ring is not in here. Okay. I've got the stem is in place now. Your can pinion feels pretty loose. So I'm going to go ahead and now, I'm not even going to play with this anymore. I'm going to get these hands off, get the dial off. I'm going to stop fooling around. I have that off. Dial is beautiful. It's got a few little marks around that sub-dial there. You see those little scratchies? But that's the extent of it. Those are there to stay, but they're not really noticeable if you're in there. The rest, look at the silver printing, how bright it is. The dial is dated 1 month after the caseback, May 1969. That doesn't mean anything one way or the other. This is so early in production that I wouldn't worry about it. There are these hands. What's cool about these hands is they are, I don't know, just how Seiko did this frosting, I'm not entirely sure, but it's super cool. Okay, so here's your movement. I'm going to pull this thing apart. Shattered. Ugh, Milo, how'd you get back in here? So I've got the chronograph bridge off, and you can see, if you look at the reflection there, you can see the shattered jewel. So I'll punch that out of there and replace that. This is an A movement, of course, so it's got a few things. It doesn't, this post right here is not adjustable. the B's went to having a slot here. This became an eccentric post, so you could adjust it to make sure that the hammer reset correctly. The other thing that the A's did, of course, is they had a separate intermediate wheel, whereas with the A's like this, they have it is staked directly to this bridge, and this is sort of a weak design in that it can easily bind up, and then the whole chronograph stops functioning. So they changed that. The test specified to see how it looks is to use a brush like this, and if it turns, well, then it should be good. Hey, so look at that test. That's how little force is supposed to be needed to do this. And you don't lubricate those, because these tolerances and forces, lubrication there will act like a glue. Okay, let's get this next layer off. Pulling off these things. It's pretty dirty, as you can see. You got a corrosion and some other stuff. Also, your lower mainspring arbor port is badly worn, as they always are. That's pretty bad. Get these parts. Okay, so all that little stuff is off, and now we're ready to pull this bridge. Come on, get off of there. Well, it's dirty. That's one of the extra jewels right there that the 21s get versus the 17s, is that this third wheel jewel is in place rather than a bushing. Dirty, dirty, dirty. What's that? What's that stuff? Dirty, dirty. I'll do a formal test of this after it's clean, but right now, just check it out. Yep, that's good. Yep, congratulations, your chronograph wheel is good. Amazing, these early ones they're a little burlier in some ways. The finger's a little burlier than the B's, but the overall structure might not be as strong. Is your third wheel. Gotta get all this stuff cleaned up. Wow, look at the haze around this. What's up with that? Well, nothing to it but to do it. I'm trying to see what the heck I'm doing. Speaking of doing things. Come on. Hit me. I mean, not literally, but there we go. Ah. Okay. That jewel's in good shape. So let's see what's underneath this. Well, it's dirty, I can tell you that. This did get some moisture inside. Now, where the other jewels are is that these 21s have a diafix setting there, which you can see. Yeah, that black stuff is the old S2 lubricant inside. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Yeah, baby, I see it now. See the missing tooth? Look at that, right there. Missing a tooth. So your barrel's bad. Gonna have to swap that out, and we're gonna have to find the tooth, assuming it's still in here somewhere. So your barrel's bad. Boof. Bonky bonk, just like that. Bonk bonk. Oh, would you knock it off? I'm really running out of time here today. I want to try to get this going. Actually, I'll just use this Seiko holder. It's for a 7000 series, but it holds it nicely, which I like. Sorry for all the noise. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. So I'm going to be very curious actually to see if there's any damage to the teeth here. I wonder what broke it off. I wonder what broke it off. So I'm going to have to look very carefully at this center wheel. Let me get this stripped down to the main plate. Okay, we've got that stripped down. This is normally the stage where I would do machine out and put in the jewel, and I've gone ahead and done that. You can see that. Look at the rust staining that's in there. I don't know what's up with that. Crazy. Your upper mainspring arbor bushing is also really bad. That's that circle right there. Very, very worn. You can see the hole is an oval instead of being a circle. So this is beyond the point of my having to fiddle it. So I'm actually going to replace that bushing completely. I still haven't found that broken tooth. I'm still looking for it. This, I haven't dealt with the shattered jewel in this yet, but I will. And your center wheel, I haven't seen any problems with it, but I don't know. I'm gonna look at this. When I see corrosion around this part, sometimes you'll find that the tolerances are kind of jacked up and the wheel will move around when it's running, and that sucks up a lot of amplitude. I have a feeling that it's probably going to be something I'm going to replace, and that broken tooth really does make me nervous. I wonder what caused that. Okay, good morning. It is the next day. I've been sitting down here for just a second, and I have done a few things. This isn't cleaned yet, but it does have the replacement jewel in the middle there, so that's good. That's ready to go. Then the last thing I'm going to be doing is finishing taking apart the case, which is so I popped off the bezel. I haven't pulled out the crystal yet, but you can see this is pretty typical, this kind of corrosion. I don't think we're going to see major pitting at all. It's just going to be surface stuff. It's just dirt and grossness. But we'll see. So fix this in your mind's eye, sort of the haziness and the rust and the gunk and the junk. And let's see what that looks like when I'm done cleaning it. Okay, we got everything out of the cleaner. Let's put it together. Well, let me look at the pivots actually and polish those up. But yes, let's get it going. There we go. Main plate and everything all out. You can see the new jewel there in the lower mainspring arbor. That's a good thing to see. Let's see how the... Oops, oh no, that's another one that I put in there that's not yours. This is yours. You have a little bit of plating loss, but the rest of it looks fine. And let's do our test. Test this gear. There. That's what we want to see. It's hanging up a little. Come on. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, all right. I figured out what may have actually caused that broken tooth. Okay, see this right here? That's the rocker level for the quick set for the day date. See that right there? It is supposed to look like this is a junk plate. It's supposed to look like this. See that? It's snapped off. So I'm going to have to de-stake this. I'm going to take that apart, de-stake this, and then I have a replacement one that I'm going to put on. So got to do some funky stuff. Okay, so all back together as it should be. Now we can see this does what it is supposed to do, and that's important. Okay, I got the front half of the movement together. So we can see that there. There is, this is all nicely machined out. I'm proud of this job. And then you can see the new lower mainspring arbor jewel right there. Sorry for the bonking. Have your die fixed back in place. this advances as it should. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, there's that day wheel back on. I am just testing. See how our calendar works out. There we go. And your quick set. Just like nothing. Okay, so now I need to find the dial ring. Yours was missing. This is an early one, so it's gonna have the first gen dial ring. The second gen won't do it. It's got to be the first, because the cases are different slightly. There's some other differences too. It's very subtle, but certain things will not transfer back and forth. So let me find that ring. Okay, so I just had a little bit of fun. This is your chronograph wheel, and down where I'm gripping it, that gear section all the way up to the tip right there was covered in rust, corrosion. I had to put this on a lathe, jeweler's very fine lathe, to try to clean that up. I think it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to say 100% until I see the numbers, but I definitely cleaned a lot of crap off there. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not just so much the rust, but it's also anything gets off, it gets into the movement, and also any kind of corrosion mixing with lubricants turns into an abrasive mix called a cutting slurry. We don't want that. It's too bad, because the clutch is certainly holding. Clutch is good, and we should be able to do it. I got it cleaned up as I could, but let's move forward. Now we start and check the running of the train. You can see it going there. That's what the chronograph stopped. This final check after checking all the wheels. It was a little gluey, and I was worried about that, but it performed okay. So I'm gonna keep moving ahead. I just have to check one. It is much later. Oh my gosh. But I have this thing together, and it is running. So that's good. It was massively out of adjustment. Somebody had been just jacking with the adjustment levers, but I've been having it running for about 2 minutes now, and I was able to get a rough adjustment down to that. It was like losing all this time, and it had 9.9 beat error. So I'm going to let this, it is very much late, and it is snowing, and I am going to let this run in, and we're gonna see where the numbers are. I'm just going to leave it alone. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. But so far, so good. The jewel replacements I had to do, all the cleaning on the chronograph wheel, all that stuff. So it's clearly a runner. I had to replace that date correct quick set lever. All the other cleaning I had to do. So far, so good. So far, so good. It's a little bit later. These are the numbers now with the chronograph running. Chronograph is engaged. So you can see it's starting to really settle down. There shouldn't ever really be a variance between running and stopped. So I'm going to go back and check that. And if I see a variance there, I'm going to go back in and look at that chronograph wheel. But so far, so good. Man, from extremely broken and not running to this, I'm okay. All right, I'm pulling the plug. That's the end of it. Okay, it is tomorrow morning. Happy Saturday. Let's see. Let's find out together. Come on. You see, it is still running. Okay, so this is about, it's about 20 hours down. Cool. Okay, so let me power it up again and flip it. Okay, so remember, we're having your dial ring, your indicator ring issue, where it won't sit down, and that is, I think, why the dial ring in your watch was missing, because you have one of these. This is a standard one with its, see how it's got that step up like that. See, this it won't drop down on it. The internal is not right. This is a really early ring, and it won't fit. I looked through everything I have. I do not have one of, I do not have an early ring. I mean, I looked through tons of stuff. I don't have one. However, I do have a similar ring from the 6000 series sport divers, and I was digging through my stuff. It's the same size. The only difference is that the two cutouts for the buttons are not present. You got it here, the crown goes through there, button. So this is, everything else is the same, it's just missing those cutouts. Crown, button. So what I'm gonna do then, and you can see that angle? That's only the early rings have that. Even with these divers, this 70-meter sport diver there, it's this is a later one. It's not a notch. This is an early one with the notch. Only the early ones are gonna have this ring with that smooth side on it, because you see the smooth side there. Remember how we couldn't get that ring to drop on? It sits right down, exactly as it should. And it's the same size. These all use the same size dial, so that is our option. So I'm going to machine this down. Actually, let me do that. Hang on a second. Let's look. The difference is what they did when they went to the later ring is the later ring has a lip around the outside here, right in there, and that basically the dial sits inside of that, versus, which stabilizes everything, makes it all hang together better. This early one, it sits underneath the dial, so the dial doesn't have a metal protective ring around it, and that's how that works. Just like that. Okay, so I got some machining to do. Here is the old style dial ring from that 6000 series sport diver from very early 69, and the other, I had this standard one in there, absolutely would not work. It is interesting though. I mean, I'm just fortunate to have exposure to all this stuff, so I would know these things, that you had to have this early ring, and that the early ring out of those divers can be modified to work on these, just like that. Let's see, actually, is there, I may need to get a washer in there as well, the little warpy washer that holds that in. I forget if the first gen ones had that, but anyway, there it is. Couldn't get that to happen before. Now I can. So that's good. Since I have your case here, I'm also going to, I need to talk about that. I'm going to go back in and clean it a little bit more, but you can see, let me get these out of here. Get out. Talking about, now your watch had fairly significant corrosion inside the case back. I mean, I've seen far worse. So this is surface corrosion, all that stuff on the outside. That doesn't really matter, but this pitting inside does. But now, none of it really goes all the way through to the inside, but you still have compromised sealing surfaces. So you need to be aware of that. So, I mean, obviously you weren't going to go, take this for your Olympic trials swimming anyway, but just be aware that that's the situation with this one. And there was some pitting on the top, but nothing inside on the sealing surfaces. You can see the pitting there and there. A little bit more around here. Nothing major, but just be aware of it. But the sealing surfaces are good, so on the front. You just got to be careful. So here's the start. I've marked the first slot right there, and I just have to basically take off that bottom lip. Same thing is going to be over here, and I'm going to do it by hand. Should be good. I have the first one done with my handy dandy jeweler's file. I have to clean that up and test it, but that is a good first start right there. Now I just have to do the other one, and then I'll test it and we'll see how it goes. I need to round off all these edges and make sure everything is shipshape, but that's not hard. And onward and upward. Let me do the next one. Okay, and there we go. Pretty neat job, if I say so myself. And that's what we need. So now the numbers and the movement are good. I'm going to go ahead and put the dial on, assemble the hands on. I'm very curious to see if that if the sweep will set properly. We'll find out. Okay, there that is. Now, I think the reason that Seiko changed the way that that dial ring worked is that when the dial is here, the only thing holding the dial in place are the two dial feet. The other one, the other newer type of ring, would support the entire circumference of the dial, which would make it more stable, probably less likely to break the dial feet, because you're always going to be stopping and starting and pushing and moving the movement. But, you know, so far so good. This is better than the alternative. Oh, I did have to go back in, actually, and modify this a bit more. This section here needed to be flattened down to make room for the quick set on the date. Otherwise, the gear ran into it. Okay. There we go. I'm going to have to, thankfully, the preset for this was not damaged when this person did this funky stuff. It's still a slight bit off of here, and I should be able to correct that, but that's still a gigantic improvement. There's paint damage on your lower hand. It is what it is. This metallic color I can't really match, so you know, it is what it is, but I think it's going to be just fine. There's that crazy metallic of the main sweep. Okay, let me work on that, but we're getting real close now. Okay, so whenever the person set this hand in correctly, they didn't damage the chronograph wheel, thankfully, but they did actually damage the hand tube. It cracked it, but I have a fix for that. I use a high-strength 2-part epoxy, and I mix up a tiny, 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 tiny amount. Like, you could, even on the tip of my tiny applicator, you can barely see it. But it's enough to hold the little thin tube walls together and to the pinion, and it's fine. I've done this before in this kind of a situation where I have to preserve the hand, and I did it, and it will hold. It's an invisible fix, and it'll hold it. I just wanted you to know that that was under there, that's one of the things that happened. But it is on there, and that will be an excellent fix, and it will hold it right where it needs to be. Okay. So here's the exciting part. I'm not going to do this on camera, but these, you have offered to be the guinea pig for the new Viton seals. And there they are. I'm excited. Been so long that we have been running down from these things, and I swear it took the better part of 6 months and some serious investment to make these things happen. But Viton, man, it's the way to be. Brand new. Same with the crown gasket. Okay, I'm going to put those together. We're getting real close. And of course, so we have it here cased. There are the seals, crown's in place. Here's your indicator ring. Look at that, it drops right on. And there she blows. You see? That would not have worked with a standard ring. It had to be the early one. Cool. Awesome. Okay, let me move forward. Okay, I've run into another little hitch. Your stem is slightly too short to correctly quick set the day. It'll reset the date, but it doesn't go in far enough to do the day. And that's a issue of the stem. The stem, when it's in, should be out another, about half the width of this should be sticking out beyond this case. I don't know why it's too short, but it is. So there's no way for me to make that longer. I simply have to replace the stem. So I'm going to do that. Okay. Whoops. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so now it's correct. You can see it's out just a little more than halfway, which is fine. It's just perfect. Here's your old stem, which is ever so slightly too short, but it's one to keep hold of because these stems, these 357 612s, they're rare, and nobody makes these yet, as far as I know, as a reproduction. So it's original or nothing. So now I'm going to put on the winding bridge, and we're going to go from there. I'm going to need to do some minor, well, now is the time I'm going to do final accuracy stuff. There she blows, running incomplete. You can't really hear it very well because I've got it's in the case. If I flipped it around, it'd probably have a better signal. But it tells me more than enough of what I need to know. It's a happy watch. So aside for accuracy adjustments, we're where we need to be. Well, that was fun. Doing a lot of stuff I don't normally get to do. I mean, I've done pretty much all of this stuff, though I can't remember the last time I had to deal with a broken quickset lever. I can't remember the last time I saw a barrel with a broken tooth. Also, the chronograph wheel, having to go in and put that on my jeweler's lathe so I could spin it to smooth the faces and the shafts and make it all good again. That was wild. There was a lot of extra hand labor, actually, to do that. Your center wheel is also corroded, so I replaced that. Here's your old bad stem. There's the upper mainspring arbor bushing. There's a lot of little fixes. A lot of little fixes to make this one back. Well, I had to track down a dial ring that would work, and then I had to modify it so it would absolutely work. You're going to find this is exactly as it should be. This action is a little is tighter than the more modern ones, which is fine. This is the way that it's supposed to be. It works absolutely fine. All the teeth and the underneath of the ring are correct. They're as they should be. Just again, keep in mind you've got some pitting on the case, and underneath the sealing surface, it's got all new seals, including Viton seals. I've also set the reset to be light. I don't want to put a lot of force into that chronograph wheel, especially considering that it had corrosion issues. You know, obviously it's working, but you're gonna find that it's not a hard reset. Like if the hand is all the way down here, it's gonna be a slower reset. It might be a little ragged because I set the springs to being very light. So it's not gonna put a ton of pressure in there. So we can hopefully preserve your chronograph wheel for as long as possible. Boy, this was a fun project. That was lots of fun. Okay, well, I thank you so very much and enjoy this watch in good health. Thank you.